Yeah, I've gone through a lot in my life, yeah. You know, and my book is fantastic. And when I, the beginning of my book is something that made me cry, even when I read it after it was, you know, I said what I said after it was wrote, and it was sort of like read back to me. We cried. A lot of us cried. Me, Terry, and Matt Trollope, the guy that wrote the book. It's really sad. And when I was a young kid, I lost my dad when I was one, yeah? So I never had a father figure and I needed a father figure. Anyway, my brothers and sisters used to bash me up so much. I was a little sod. And I used to hide in the coal bunker. You know, I used to get black, you know. And so when mum came home, I used to get it from my mum as well, you know, because, you know, dirty, there's no hot water, couldn't afford to put money in the machine, you know, so we get hot water, so it was all cold water, you can imagine, can't you? Anyway, so I used to be a little sod, and I used to go to a school called East Acton, and it was a, you know, a prep school as such. And you used to have a teacher called Miss Pengelly. Miss Pengelly was the headmistress. She was a cow, yeah, and she didn't like me at all. I was always causing problems, always fighting, and because of that, you know, she told my mum a few things about me. So I got a few clumps when I got indoors, and also getting clumps from my brothers and sisters. You know, it was a bit much for my mum. She couldn't handle it, yeah. So she put me in charge of her brother, uh, Don, yeah, Don or Ron, I forget which one it was, right? And they lived in Hammersmith, and Gladys was Don's wife or Ron's wife, and she had a brother who lived in the loft of the house. Yeah, it was converted, and he was an ex military man, ex army. Yeah, but what we didn't know that he was chucked out of the army for playing with young kids. So because he was doing that, I mean, she kept us away from him. But being what kid I was, mad, I used to run upstairs and see him, yeah. So as a young child, um, you know, he started to do things to me that was like, I thought was the right thing for him to do. But as a young child, you don't really know if it's right, you know. So every day, my mum used to pick me up and take me back home and get on a trolley bus and all that, you know, with my brothers and sisters. My mum went through a lot, yeah. Because I was a sod, I was really a bad boy. And I believe that time, I can't remember if she was pregnant, I can't remember anyway. But she couldn't cope. And I was, you know, always causing problems. So when I was to go around brother's house and I was to go upstairs, it got to a stage that he was always abusing me, yeah? Always. But I didn't know it was right or wrong. So he kept saying to me, don't tell your mum this, don't do that. I can remember certain things, you know, and one day he went too far. Um, you know, my mum picked us up and I was upstairs in the bedroom with him. And my brother Keith, this is what my brother Keith told me. I didn't know this. I thought it was someone else that sexually abused me, right? But my brother told me later on, my big brother. He told me when I was 50 odd years of age. So all the time, I thought he was a police officer. That is why I've always been against authority here. But he wasn't that. So when my big brother walked up the stairs to get me, there I was on the bed, naked, playing with his medals, yeah? And he had to go to my brother, told my brother to go back down the stairs, shouted at my brother. My brother went downstairs and don't you tell your mum anything, yeah? So my brother stood fighting to say anything. So then he started really sexually abusing me bad. So when my mum was shouting out, I went and got dressed and went downstairs. You can imagine the state I was in, because I'd been sexually abused. Bad. It'd been going on for quite some time. But this time it went that little bit too far. So when we got on a trolley bus, and my mum noticed that something was on my top, some white stuff, and she's going mad, what is it, what is it, what is it? And I was too frightened to say anything. And then I sat on my mum's lap because there was no room on the bus. My brother and sisters over to the right, I'm sat on my mum's lap. All of a sudden, my mum chucked me off her lap because she thought that I'd weed or messed her, yeah? Because I couldn't hold what I had inside me because of me being abused all the time by this man. So when she had pushed me off, the whole of her dress was smothered with blood. She went absolutely bonkers. Took me off the trolley bus in a right bad way. All the white stuff on the front of my jumper, she knew what it was. She took me back to her brother's house. Went mad. I mean, the guy upstairs, his sister Gladys, went crazy. And don't forget, I never knew this ever happened to me by this person I thought was a police officer. So I never knew nothing about Gladys or Don or whatever, yeah? I said Don, his name was Don. I never knew nothing, you know. So my brother, my mum, other brother Roy, is a police officer. He's the one I thought. His brother-in-law, I thought he was the one that done it to me. He was a police officer. But anyway, when my mum went to see Roy in Hammersmith police station, no phones down or nothing, yeah? And she told him, he come around the house and got hold of this guy, Glad's brother, and they nearly killed him. They bashed him up, something terrible. I went to a hospital to get stitched up. You know, I was in a bad way, mate. He'd done some bad things to me, you know. So he got, I believe, 7 years or something like that. So it must have been bad for him to get that sort of a sentence, yeah. But I always thought it was a police officer that done this to me all my life. It was only one day that my brother come round my house that I was fixing up in Kingston and told me exactly the story. And you can imagine, I couldn't believe it, yeah, that it was that person. So when I come home after a hospital, everybody looked after me, give me presents, give me sweets, everything. Gladys come round with my, you know, with Ron, the brother, and all this, you know, my mum's brother. But when they used to come around my house, I always felt uncomfortable. She used to cuddle me and kiss me, Gladys, you know, and I always felt there was something wasn't right as a kid, you know, and I don't know, it just felt funny for me. So I used to like Gladys's daughter, and she was a little bit older than me, Christine. Chris, her name was. And I was, you know, I liked her, and I was only a kid, a little crush for me. And then going back to school, I was causing more and more problems, you know, because of what happened to me. You know, just made things a lot worse than what there was. I was causing so many problems in the house, fighting my brother Keith, fighting my sister Dinah, going downstairs to the coal bunker with, you know, and I had a little mouse. My brother, you know, killed the mouse, and there was a load of things happened, you know. And as a child, you know, you can't imagine those sort of things happening to you, you know what I mean? But it did, you know. And all those things that happened to me as a child come out when my brother Keith told me all about it. I mean, you know, I knew it happened to me, but my brother Keith told me more. And then after all that that I went through, they said to my mum, "Look, we can't handle where he is too much." And my mum was pregnant. I'm sure she was pregnant. And she couldn't really handle my mum. So they decided to put me in a home. And they put me in a home in Wales. My mum took me there. Mum, you know, I mean, you can imagine my poor mum. She was pregnant, I think, at the time. Put me in home because I was trouble. Not put me in home for me to go, like, you know, but anyway, but they put me in a home. They put me in a home in Wales. My sisters goes mad about it, you know. But anyway, they put me in a home in Wales, yeah. I can always remember certain things. I can remember me catching an eel. I said it was electrical, but I'm a kid, you know. I remember catching an eel with a lolly stick and a plastic bag and taking it back and putting it in the fish tank and it dying, you know. I can remember all these things, yeah. I can remember being in a dorm, in a dormitory, where all us kids were in little beds, you know, more boys than girls, but there's loads of us in there, yeah. And I can remember certain things, and you know, kids crying, you know, at night time, kids being pulled away and crying when they come back. And I wonder what it was, you know. I didn't know what it was. I was only a child, and I was there for a bit of time. And one day it happened to me. They come and got me because I used to see them when I was at night asleep in my bed, come up and take kids downstairs. And I wondered what it was. I thought, what is it, you know? And one day they come and got me and took me downstairs into these rooms, and I was meeting men and I was meeting women, and they was doing things to me that the other man that I thought was a police officer was doing to me too. So it got to a stage where I thought, well, it's got to be right because everybody's doing it to me, you know what I mean? And when they'd done it to me before, I was getting loads of sweets and things, so I didn't know what it was right or wrong. So I was always in pain. I was always doing things that kids should not do. And it seems to go on forever. The story's bigger than this, but it seems to go on forever. And then one day my mum came and got me and took me back home. I think then that she'd had my sister Jackie. I'm not quite sure, you know. I can't remember. But my mum took me back home. And I told my mum exactly what happened to me, and she obviously she didn't believe me because when it happened before, I was getting sweets and everything. So my mum thought I was playing that game again. But it was true. I went through all this as a child. And my mum went through a hell of a lot, you know, and I become more madder. I become more mad than ever before, doing silly things. My mum, I used to climb over Acton Park. Acton Park was right opposite our house, yeah. Just walking across the road, park was there with big gates. As a kids, them gates are huge. So, you know, when you go there now, they're not that big, but as a child, they're big. So it'd take me forever to try and climb over, but I used to go in the coal bunker and escape, yeah, and go to the fair. So when my mum used to shout for me, she knew I was down there in the coal bunk. I would always be down there playing with my mouse and all that, yeah, which my brother killed. But my mum used to go mad and she couldn't find me, but then my mum was fighting for me because of what happened to me as a child, and me being told of what happened to me in Wales, I should think she wasn't quite sure if it did or didn't, because don't forget, I'd already been stitched up and I was already maybe aware, open for that to happen to me again. I don't know, yeah. So my mum used to come home with a fair, go mad. My mum had to climb the fence to get over there to the fair, and to get me. I was always in the shooting range, picking up the corks from the floor and putting my sweets back up and all that. My mum would get mad and give me a good hiding. You know, don't keep coming over the fair, because my mum, by then, she must have been so petrified that all this is going to happen to me again. You can imagine, can't you? Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll stop it there, because it just goes on and on and on, yeah? But again, I never, as I said, I was not told about the first incident until later on, about when I was in Kingston, years and years later, in my 50s, yeah? When my brother told me who actually done what they'd done. I always thought it was a police officer, always, because that's how I thought about it. You know, I don't know why. But anyway, then, you know, my brother Keith, when he told me, I was like shocked, because I've always been against authority. Any authority, I've been against it because of what happened to me as a child. Anyway, bang, bang, well, like, the reason I've done this is because I've gone through a lot in my life here, you know, and a lot of things have been chucked at me, mate. And, you know, and I think to myself, you know, people have got to know what's happened to me as a kid, as a child. And it gets worse and worse and worse in my life, yeah. Anyway, bang, 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 good morning, yeah.